where he's been and what he may have seen that he's not saying. So.
Okay, well, let's pursue that for a second. Is there some stuff that you haven't revealed to the press, for example, that you might have come across that, you know, is sort of your ace in the hole that you're holding, you know, some cards you're holding?
If there was, I wouldn't tell you.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay. Fair enough. And there's a sense that if you have information that it would be stowed somewhere safe. Because, look, people disappear every day, isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully you protected yourself on some level.
I'm not going to disappear.
Yeah. Okay. So in a sense, are you actually considering yourself a bit of a warrior? You're fighting a battle?
No. I'm certainly in conflict. Mm-hmm. But
well, what I mean is like, in a sense, you're fighting a battle for disclosure when all's said and done in the acts that you've taken part in. Isn't that right?
I guess I am, but I get very impatient with this sort of cloak of grandness that a lot of people in this field tend to cloak themselves in. And to me, it's a job that has to be done. It has to be done, you know, pragmatically.
Uh-huh.
So I don't really see myself as anything. I just want to get on. I want to beat this rap and then carry on following the UFO disclosure thing, but obviously through legitimate channels this time.
Okay. So, just out of curiosity, have you thought of writing a book?
I hadn't thought of it, and then John Wiley and Sons approached me, and they got me to write the blurb, you know, the new book proposal document, and write some stuff on the back, you know.
Sure.
Gary McKinnon tells us this, that, and the other. And they said, "Oh, great! You know, it sounds really good." Wow! And then they had a meeting with their legal department from stateside. So it's an American-based company ultimately, and that was it.
Oh, they pulled the. Oh, wow!
Gone, yeah.
Well, I've got some people in Hollywood that might be interested. How do you feel about that? Okay, great.
Stay in this country and film it.
Okay, very good. Okay. So, as far as your background, you're not really a skilled, educated IT guy. Is that correct? I mean, do I have that right?
I am skilled, but I've got no formal qualifications.
Uh-huh. But when you started this sort of search, had you worked in the field?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had my first computer at 14, learned to program in BASIC, then I learned to program in assembler. And then didn't do any computing work for a long time, but it was a hobby. Graphics programming, OpenGL, artificial intelligence, games programming, and then went to study computing, but found I had a lack of ability at high-level maths, so I couldn't even start the computer science degree. So they bumped me down to a higher national diploma, and I still had trouble with high-level maths, so I had to leave that altogether, and just went to work in it. Got my first job with no experience whatsoever, apart from my own hobbyist experience, just installing and configuring Windows. Mm-hmm. And from then on you get another contract, you get more experience, you do more stuff. And at that time employers respected experience more than pieces of paper. And I found later on they started to respect the pieces of paper more, but I could sit next to 10 guys with MCSEs and whatever and be better than all of them put together just because of 20 odd years experience behind me. So.
Great. So you've done some game and artificial intelligence work as well?
Yeah, not for work, for pleasure. Genetic algorithms, fuzzy logic, that kind of stuff.
Fabulous. And I understand you're also into graphics.
Yeah.
You have a background in that as well.
I'm using OpenGL as a way to learn the C++ programming language because you get lots of visual feedback. It's a very rewarding way to learn something that's quite dry, really.
Huh. Okay, cool. So you're very self-taught in a lot of ways. Now, I'm just curious, have you had maybe the hacker community come out for you in any way?
Because I was never part of the scene, so to speak. I did contact a couple of chaps whom I saw in a news group posting what seemed like very well-informed and knowledgeable comments upon my case. And one of those chaps is now the guy that runs the Free Gary website. He's, very knowledgeable, very worthwhile, very, very caring. Mm-hmm. One of these people that just seems to be sacrificing his entire self for the good of everyone else. And I've read some stuff But lots of hackers are angry. I've read that hackers have said, "Oh, if Gary goes to jail in America, we'll hack the bejesus out of the American government." Please don't do that, chaps.
Do you have other people that are sort of in there batting for you, like family,
oh,
friends?
I mean, my mum's a tower of strength, But I'm lucky enough to have 4 parents. I speak to my stepdad and my real dad a lot, and my stepmum, not quite so often because she still lives in Scotland. But yeah, friends incredibly supportive. I mean, having told me to stop doing what I was doing, they didn't really know exactly what I was doing, but they knew I was in places I shouldn't have been. And they're all saying, "Oh, it's very silly, you shouldn't do that," and trying to discourage me from doing it. And then they were very angry when it first came out that I'd been caught. But yeah, they're incredibly supportive.
Okay.
And I think the best thing is when we just make jokes about it, because it's quite dark sometimes, thinking, God, I could be facing 60 years in jail. So it's
right.
good to keep a sense of humour.
Okay. When you do investigation for 2 years, I'm sure that, a lot of it sort of goes into the back of your head somewhere. And I was just curious whether or not, of course, I don't know what you're reading lately or anything, but if you ever find things that collaborate what you might have come across, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, my story in itself, just, that hacking story, I didn't find out, well, there was only a few items. So, there's nothing more that I've forgotten. That is all there is, the Excel spreadsheets and the picture. But you're absolutely right. Having read lots of stuff recently, I've had so many people get in contact with me, and thanks to all of them sending me books and DVDs and being unemployed and stuff, it's really nice to have something for your brain to chew over.
Sure.
And I did realise there were places I'd been, which I didn't know at the time, but I've since found out are apparently hotbeds of UFO activity. China Lake. Well,
certainly, I guess Johnson Space Center.
Well, yeah, absolutely, Johnson Space Center. A couple of NSA machines in Fort Meade as well, actually. So yeah, the stuff, I do think I probably was in places that were more sensitive than I realised at the time. I probably missed a whole lot of stuff.
So you did keyword searches, isn't that right?
Well, no, once you're actually, you have to become, it's no good just being an administrator of the machine. You have to become what they call in a Microsoft network the domain administrator, so you've got full control of the entire network. Once you've got that, you can run a program. I used one called LandSearch, I think, at the time, which just searches every single computer and picks up files of certain types. But unfortunately, at that time, it wasn't good enough to look for keywords within the files. So I had to get creative with file names.
Wow. So you could have just missed something that was top secret just because it was called, some innocuous name that didn't, trigger any idea. And
also, I eventually realised there was one network I was on, I won't say which, where because of the technique of rather than going around with a CD and installing Windows in every machine individually, you create what's called an image, and you shoot that image across the network onto each machine. On this particular network, the image had been made with a blank administrator password, so I had 5,000 machines, all with blank administrator passwords. What was the question there?
How do you search something like that?